Welcome back. All right, so this is going to be one of those long form videos that I sometimes do when it comes to jerseys. Going to be a lot of pausing in this because I'm going to grab all 32 teams home and away jerseys. I'm going to rank them. I did this a long time ago on the channel before Vegas was in the NHL. So I haven't done this in a very long time, and this list is as close as I could get to how I feel regarding these jerseys. If your feeling is different, absolutely, you guys can let me know where you would rank them. I will be doing timestamps for this video because it's 32 different sets of jerseys. People may be curious about where their team ended up and what my argument is for where they ended up. So yes, timestamps will be in this. First time I've used timestamps since the regular season ended. So yeah, but during the off season they do show up at times. Not that often, but they do show up at times. And so yeah, I'm going to rank them from 32 through to 1, and let's go ahead and start with number 32 because that's kind of where you start. So over the last few years, I've been going to Anaheim and seeing Disneyland and all the wonders of it, and I've also had some very nice meetings with people from the Anaheim Ducks organization. I've seen some games in Anaheim as well. And so it might surprise some that I have Anaheim at 32nd. I don't think the problem's the logo. I don't think the problem's necessarily the colors. It's the weird striping. The weird striping on these jerseys is just, it's odd. I don't know how else to describe it, and I know people do not like this look. I know there's a lot of people want them to go back to the old Mighty Ducks look. I get the feeling that they're going to go in the same direction as Vancouver, where you have the skate, but it remains the third jersey. I get the feeling that that Mighty Ducks logo probably stays as an alternate, and they probably keep it as a third jersey. But yeah, I think this one stays, but I think they could just fix the stripes up a little bit, and I think you'd have a much better looking jersey. So 31 won't necessarily surprise anybody who's been a long time viewer of the channel, but Nashville needs more blue. It's a little too much in the gold department. Needs a little more blue, something to break up all that gold. I do like the guitar strings and the numbers, and I really do like the white jersey. It's a shame that I really like the white jersey. This one I'm a fan of. This one I've never been a fan of. After all the years of Adidas, I still not a fan. I'm hoping that when Fanatics takes over that we see some kind of change a little bit. I'm not saying turn the whole thing blue, but something a little more than what they have is how I feel about the Nashville Predators and their current look. There's a lot of aspects of this jersey I like. I like the logo. I like the shoulder patches. Again, I like the way they do their numbers. Just not a huge fan of the unbroken gold there. Number 30 on the list belongs to Columbus. You know, the interesting thing with Columbus is I remember when I got my first Blue Jackets jersey, I thought, you know, it's better in person than I thought it would be, but I still think that was the last team that I got a jersey of. And again, you'll notice too, a lot of my Adidas have the button. That was only on the first year. That's it. So that's how long I've had a majority of the Adidas jerseys I'm going to show all you fine people today. And this one has the nice 20th anniversary patch. I mean, it's just kind of meh. I've seen people complaining about the name being Blue Jackets. I understand the historical significance of Blue Jackets. I'm not saying that the name needs to go or anything. It's just they've got this nice cannon on the shoulder, and they've got these really nice cannon thirds. And I tell you, if they had that cannon in a white jersey, right? But at any rate, I obviously it's not my least favorite, but it's close to the bottom. And it's just I feel like that cannon really pops it literally, right? And so it would be nice to see some kind of change. I know that apparently ownership doesn't want to make that change, but maybe at some point they're going to have to because of the fact it's just such a big seller comparatively speaking with the regular jersey. Yep, sure enough, both of these have the button on them as well. This one has the Stanley Cup final patch from 2018, and it's the Washington Capitals. The Capitals have had some they've had some nice jerseys. I do prefer the Eagle. I'm just going to say straight out I prefer the Eagle, and the Capitol Building jersey is absolutely gorgeous as well. It's the script. It's an updated version of the script they wore in the 80s. The striping is weird on these two. And again, there's the button on one and the button on the other as well, meaning first year jerseys and all that. And so, yeah, Capitals home and away. I do really like the eagle on the shoulder. I'd like to see them give that a go. Personally, I think if they went with the eagle on the shoulder as the main logo, I think they might end up being in the top 10. But at this point in time, they're number 29. So, yeah, there you go. In at number 28, the New York Islanders. The Islanders, I've never been a huge fan of the logo. I understand now that you got 50 plus years of tradition with that logo, so it's not going anywhere, especially since the one time they tried to change it. That didn't go well, did it? So I don't ever see that happening again. I don't see the colors ever changing again. But for me, it's just kind of, I don't know. It's not a favorite for me. It ends up coming in at 28th. And that dates back to when I was a kid. I was never a big fan of the Islanders either. And that was the team on the ice or the jerseys. Eventually, I became more of a fan of the team on the ice. That was during the mid '90s when they were the underdogs there, and then they did the rebrand, which not a great idea. But anyways, yeah, the Islanders end up coming in 28th. I don't think this will surprise people either that they're early in the countdown. But yeah, 28th for the Islanders. In at 27, the Avs. Yep. Now I really do like their jerseys, but again, it's about ranking like favorites. They're not in the favorites category for me. I really do like the white one more than the maroon one. And I'm glad they brought the mountain back at the bottom. It's definitely better than some of the other designs they've had over the last 20 years. I think all the colors are right. The striping's fine. I don't think anything's ever going to change with them because they've won 3 Stanley Cups with this look or a very similar look, right? Including the 2022 patch you see here. But yeah, it just doesn't end up being one of the higher ones. I've never been a huge fan of the logo. I do like the colors, though. I think the colors are sharp. It's just, yeah, the logo's always been something that I've never been a huge fan of. It may just be that whole Nordiques thing in the back of my mind that's playing a part in that as well. Fully acknowledge that, but yeah, so that's where Colorado ends up. At 26, another recent Stanley Cup winner. This is weird how they all end up in this area. But anyways, Tampa Bay, I love the logo. Let me make this clear. I absolutely love the logo. But it looks like somebody sat them down in a meeting and said, okay, we need a new look. Now, the Leafs have a really good color. I was thinking something sort of like that. And you know, the Red Wings have a really nice jersey, something similar to that. And then that person left the room and they went, all right, so Red Wings jersey with Leafs colors? All right, we're good, let's go. And it's too bad because I do really like the logo quite a bit. I think a little bit of black would work. Like their third jerseys, the black third jerseys look really sharp, I think. Most of my favorite jerseys Tampa Bay has worn have been black or at least white with just a little bit more color. Just a little bit more color, something a little different. And again, it looks very similar to other jerseys in the NHL, which I think hurt its ranking. We're up to number 25. We get to the Florida Panthers here. Nice 25-year patch. And again, I mean, I don't mind it. It's a nice jersey, and this is another team. They're going to the Stanley Cup final in all likelihood, right? If they beat the Rangers, and maybe they're going to win a Stanley Cup. So to be another Cup winner that's towards not necessarily the bottom. Once you're up to 25, it's not that close to the bottom. And I know a lot of criticism has been that the stripe in the middle looks very similar to Montreal's. I know Minnesota gets that criticism as well. It's okay. I do prefer the jerseys and the logo they had before this. I understand why they made the change. I know they've had more success with this look, so the odds of them ever switching back when they've had the success they've had with this look, probably pretty low. I will say this. One thing I really like with the Florida jerseys is that the captain has captain right over top of here. I think it's a nice touch. It's a subtle touch, but it's really nice to see that on Barkov's jersey. It's fun. It adds to that sort of militaristic theme that the jersey is going for, and yeah. I mean, and I like this coat of arms on the side too. I think that's actually kind of nice. And who knows, maybe as a third at some point you get that on the front. But yeah, so yeah, that's where Florida ends up. If this was a power rankings, this would be the start of the second row. And it's the Oilers. Again, a team that's on the verge of maybe going to the Stanley Cup final, could win a Stanley Cup. So yeah, and if they do win a Stanley Cup, I will absolutely be adding a patch to these jerseys. Or probably the blue one for the Stanley Cup patch. I think the blue one needs it more than the white one. I do prefer the white one to the blue one. Totally in agreement with the Oilers going back to their old color scheme. The orange didn't work. Neither did the darker blue. Although if they tried a darker blue jersey with that orange, but they didn't. At any rate, the move back was the right decision on all fronts. I do like the texturing there inside the oil drop as well that they added. So yeah, see, I've got that on both. And not it's an okay jersey. I'm fine with it. It just ends up being 24th. So it starts again. If you were doing a power rankings, it's right at the start of that second row. I think it's important for me to point out too as we get to Carolina. I love this jersey. I think this jersey is fantastic. I've always been a big fan of this jersey. When I do the all-time rankings of jerseys in my collection, this is always one of the ones that's guaranteed to be top 100. And then there's the away jersey. Now the fact that they look so remarkably different is one thing, but I've never been a huge fan of word marks. I don't know if eventually we see the double flag on this jersey. If we see the double flag on the white jersey, I would be a huge fan of that. But yeah, this weighs it down. If they both had the double flag on the front, I think the Canes would probably be in the top 10. Just I had to weigh it with both, and I had to say no. This one just has never quite clicked for me. If it clicks for you, awesome. Just for me personally, it's never really been a big hit. But this one I really do like quite a bit. The word you're looking for is sacrilege. So the fact that I have Detroit this low down will be seen as sacrilege by some because original six looks are considered to be virtually untouchable, which most of the original six teams are for me. But this one, it's just kind of plain for me. Like I love the logo. I know it's a classic. I know Steve Yzerman and all that. And the white one looks fantastic. So where I kind of get thrown off is how nice the white one looks comparatively speaking to the red one. There's a little more detail with the white one than the red one. If you added a little more detail to the red one, like for instance where this is red, if you made that white on this sleeve and then a red stripe here and then white down here, that might break it up enough that I think, you know what, I might rank it a little higher. I know it's nitpicking, but when you're doing a list like this, sometimes the nitpicking can make the difference. But again, I love the logo. I understand it's a classic look. I'm not saying anybody's ever going to change it. I've discussed how adding a little bit of black to the jersey might look really nice. And I think while the reverse retro was largely an oops, you could see that the Red Wing logo with a little bit of black on it, it actually does really highlight it. And since this is a winged wheel, a wheel can be black without violating the religion that is the Detroit Red Wings fandom. But I know if they did that people would be very upset. It feels like it's very, I don't know. It looks very much like Tampa Bay. I can't believe they ripped off Tampa Bay. So hate can go in the bottom there. But yeah, I mean, again, I like it. It's right around the middle. It just, what weighs it down for me is just it's kind of plain. It could use a little bit more. I'm not saying different colors, just something else to break it up a little bit. So, St. Louis is next on the list. I do like this jersey. I do. I know there's been some who have felt like St. Louis should change back to one of their old designs. Disagree. I think this look is the one that's the best for them. I think it's the nicest set they've had. Yes, the throwbacks, the heritage jerseys look nice, so they should wear those as thirds every now and then on a specialty night. I think this look is fantastic for St. Louis. One thing that's interesting is that the blue on the shoulder here is different than the blue on the shoulder here, but it's a minor difference. Minor difference, and that's fine. Just wanted to point that out, that it's interesting how they don't use this dark of a blue on the shoulder here. They use it on this stripe down here. But again, I think it's a nice looking jersey. It's remarkably stayed the same over the last, 25, almost 30 years now. Since they got the word St. Louis out of the blue note and they switched to this sort of design. So I think it works, and I do like it. It just ends up being a little lower than some of the others on the list. All right, let's talk about Ottawa for a bit. So Ottawa, of course, rebranded. They went back to their old look, which is nice, and they've cleaned up some of the things with the original logo. The original logo, these were all red, and now they're gold. And, I mean, I'm not saying that it's a bad look. I do think that when the Sens did their rebranding, I get why they went back to this look. It's okay. It ends up being just below the middle in terms of the overall countdown. And there are some jerseys I really like for Ottawa. As we go through the summer, I'll do videos on jerseys I like for certain teams and everything. Just the home and away set ends up being where it is. Both of their reverse retros, too, there were some disappointments I had there. But overall, I get why Sens fans were happy they went back to this look. I had really kind of hoped when they made that change they'd come up with something really new. But yeah, for me it just ends up just below the midway mark on this countdown. Number 18, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh Penguins, Another team that goes back to a classic look, like I just talked about with Ottawa. At times they've messed around and changed it to that corporate looking penguin. And it didn't work that well for them. I always thought it was weird that they changed to a brand new logo after they won back-to-back Stanley Cups. Thought, man, that's if they were superstitious, and then they didn't win any more cups with that look. They went back to this, and all of a sudden they start winning cups again. So who knows how many cups they missed out on by changing their look. This is my Teddy Bluger, of course. I have not got a new Pittsburgh jersey with somebody other than Teddy Bluger on the back. I may pick up a blank one at some point over the next little while here. But yeah, I mean, Bluger didn't leave under bad circumstances, so I don't feel like if I wear a Bluger, it's not the same as wearing a Tavares Islanders, is what I'm saying. So I don't really worry too much about having to replace my Teddy Bluger Pittsburgh jersey. And yeah, I think it's a nice look. Pretty decent overall, and yeah, it ends up right around the middle of the chart. There was one account I remember from a few years ago that wanted red out of the Minnesota jersey. Get the red out. Red's got to go. The reality is that I think Minnesota has a nice, unique color scheme here. You also have the North Star here because Minnesota, North Star, all that. And officially, this is considered to be a nondescript animal as the logo. That's what I've read. It's considered to be a nondescript, although bear/cougar, I've heard both. You got the trees in here, the moon, of course. It's a very nice logo, very nice jersey. I do like the white one better than the green one. I'm not a big fan of that stripe in the middle on the Minnesota jersey either. We'll see when Fanatics comes out if some changes happen. Maybe Minnesota changes that. I've seen some saying they should go back to the North Stars colors. Disagree. I think the North Stars colors can stay on a third jersey. Even if they could do like a North Stars throwback officially, just, go to Dallas and go, hey, can we do a North Stars throwback? And Dallas could be like, we're not using it. So see, I just brokered a deal right there. But this jersey should stick around. I do like it. I think it's sharp. And I've always thought that's one of the best logos in sports. Not just the NHL, but in sports. Because there's multiple different aspects to it. And to me, it doesn't look crowded. And I do think that the prime green with the 3D they've put on the trees, nice touch. I think it's really, really good. And yeah, so Minnesota ends up 17th, even though I like it, meaning I think there's a lot of good jerseys in the NHL right now. Hey, welcome to the second half. Speaking of teams with good jerseys, New Jersey. So I'm not a huge fan of the lack of stripes on the bottom of this jersey. Again, you can see there's the button. A lot of these jerseys are 7 years old now. So I do like this, the 95, 2000, 2003. Not that you can see it. I've always thought it's weird to have an element in the back of the neck that nobody can see when you're wearing the jersey, unless you're see-through, in which case, why are you wearing a jersey, dude? But I do prefer the white to the red. It's one of those contrast things. But again, it ends up right around the middle. If I was grading the all-time, and I did this with the countdown last summer, pretty sure I had the Devils in there. Just it was the Reeboks because it had the stripes on the bottom. It just, again, it's that large unbroken space of one color. It weighs some teams down in my eyes. It's why San Jose, if they had not changed their jerseys this year, you would already have seen the Sharks. You have not, because I much preferred the jerseys that they were wearing this year. But in terms of jerseys from Jersey, this one ends up 16th. So just past the halfway mark. Seattle. So the Seattle Kraken, I think, have done a very good job in coming up with a look that works. Again, I think the white jerseys are nicer than the darker jerseys. But that being said, they don't make as many white jerseys as they make of the darker jerseys. Some teams, I can't even replace the white jerseys if I want to. Are we to the point where I'm going to have to talk about that? We're almost there. So yeah, Seattle, you notice the inaugural season patch on both jerseys. This is actually a Jaden Schwartz. So my favorite member of the team when they had their expansion draft. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll get a Schwartz. Again, I like that Kraken's on the inside of the neckline. I know there were people who didn't like the logo initially. They wanted the big creature, the big Kraken creature. I think this is better. Subtle, I think, is better. Plus, this logo does harken back to previous Seattle logos they've had for the Ironman as well as for the Metropolitans. So, yeah, this is a pretty nice jersey. And I do like the two-tone, the colors and everything. And it means when Utah does their colors, you got to do it right, because I think Seattle hit it out of the park with this one. When Dallas announced they were doing a rebrand, I was nervous. And when this was the logo they went to, I was less nervous and actually relieved because I like this one a lot. You've got the D here, the star, so Dallas Stars works. I have the 25th anniversary patch on this, and Victory Green on the inside of the neckline. I like both the home and the away. I know there's people who don't like these jerseys. I know that generally when I see rankings of jerseys, the home and away of teams, Dallas generally ends up in the 20 to 25 range in some of the ones I've seen. But for me, Dallas still ends up in the top half. Could they be better? Well, I mean, the old Star jersey from 1999 was fantastic. It's right there. There's a reason I wear it so often in videos. But this is still an okay look. They could use the star for a third. I'd be fine with that. But yeah, so I like the colors. I like the somewhat unique design to it as well, while it still looks like it's hockey. And the striping is at the absolute perfect level for this guy who talks about stripes a lot. So who had me clocked at miscounting as of, was it 19 or 20? At any rate, LA's 14th, 15th is Dallas, 16th Seattle, 17th New Jersey, 18th Minnesota, and 19th Pittsburgh. Are we good? All right, until I miscount again. But the LA Kings have a really nice jersey. Now, what's interesting is, so I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but there's the Arrow Ready version, and this is the prime green version. The silver is much shinier, a lot more sparkle to it, and it is amazing how that makes the jersey look so much nicer, to me personally. I have not been able to get a hold of a white version with the really sparkly look to it, other than unless I want to pay like $200 US plus. I went through the Kings team store, looked at the price, and I went, no. So there is a limit. You see this back here, there's still a limit where I go, no. That's why I'm pointing out how many of these have the button, which this one does. So this is actually the first year. Were they Arrow Ready? I think they were just called Climalite, and then they became Arrow Ready. So yeah, I've had this one for 7 years. But yeah, the LA Kings, I like the look. The one thing that holds the LA Kings jerseys from being in the top 10, and if I was ranking jersey histories for teams, LA'd be top 5, is that this crown should be the main logo. This crown should be the whole logo. I think you could drop the LA, you could drop the shield, but the LA Kings won 2 Stanley Cups wearing this, so I'd be very surprised if they change this anytime soon. But it just, I don't know, the LA I don't think is necessary. I think you could just have the Kings crown. I think you got yourself a solid jersey. But yeah, so they end up in 14th. 14th. I'll try not to lose count again. Yeah, that's still going to happen. Now, I know there's going to be people saying, well, wait, $200, isn't that the standard price for a jersey? But when it's $200 plus US, for me in Canadian, that's about $300. So, yeah, not great. So Vegas, and this is a jersey that I there's some spots and some stains here and there that Yvonne's been noticing. We've been trying to get out, and makes me nervous because I can't find a white Vegas anywhere either. Vegas, oddly enough, is not a team that they make white jerseys for, which is too bad because this is absolutely fantastic. I think the white one's better than the gray one. Now, the gray one is still used as the third, but the gold one, of course, is used as the regular home jersey. This is as Vegas as it gets. The one thing is, for anybody who's got this jersey, they'll tell you, is it itchy? Yeah. I am not in favor of fully retiring this one either. I hope they keep that one as the third. But that being said, this is as Vegas as you can possibly be. And I don't have a Vegas jersey for meetups. I'm going back and forth on which one I would want to use for a meetup jersey if I was going to order one. And I'd love to have the gold one, but again, it's that scratchy fabric, and it's so scratchy. If I ran around and played street hockey in this, I'd look like a strawberry. So no, I'm not going to do that. But at any rate, I like their look. They end up above the halfway mark. I think it's got just the right amount of sparkle and shine for the fact that it's in Las Vegas. They end up just not quite being in the top 10. So the last time that I did the video looking at the home and aways, Philadelphia had that like ridiculous color of orange. And the traffic cone orange, I'm so glad that's gone out of the NHL. I think the only one that still has it in any aspect, I think the Islanders, it's still that same shade of orange. But with the Flyers changing to a much, much better look, a very classic look, for me that puts the Flyers higher up. Keep in mind, I love the Flyers logo. I think it's a sharp jersey, both the home and the away. As soon as I saw that change, I was like, I have to get both as soon as possible because I really like both of them. I don't think they've sold that well because, let's be honest, when you look at the Flyers jerseys, and maybe at some point this summer I'll do jersey histories on all the teams again, the Flyers jerseys end up looking remarkably the same, just very, very minor differences. But one thing I will give them for these, the necklines. I think the black neckline really works quite well, and the fact they went back to the right color of orange, the right shade of orange, huge bonus in my books, so that's where the Flyers end up on this one. When I first started watching hockey, I really, really liked Flames jerseys. I thought they were really, really nice looking. And of course, and I saw some older hockey cards with the Atlanta Flames with the A, and I was like, oh, that looks fantastic. I do think the A, if you compare the Atlanta Flames and Calgary Flames logo, I think that'd be an interesting poll to have at some point on which one actually looks better, the A or the C. But this look, when they changed back to it, it was a no-brainer. I don't think they ever changed from this again. They went off into the whole flaming horse head side of things with Blasty and all. And Blasty's fine as a mascot, fine to have as a third, but these are the iconic looks for the Calgary Flames. And they should never change from these. I'm a big fan of their home and away jerseys. All right, we are into the top 10. I do believe, yep, I'm into the first column. I've actually got it right here. I can't believe I lost count because I have all the numbers right here. I have the list and I have the numbers, and no, here we are, top 10, Vancouver. The Vancouver Canucks. I know that people don't like the logo. I get it. The logo's now been in place for like over 25 years. It's not going anywhere. I really do like this look. One thing that surprised me was the stick and rink was white on both. But I've kind of got used to that, so all right. That being said, the stick and rink being on there is a nice throwback. For people looking for the skate jerseys to come back, they'll stay as the third. I don't think they ever make them the regular jersey. The Orca is associated with Vancouver, with How Sound and the whole area. So it does tie in. There's been Orcas whenever you go to any kind of gift shop in Vancouver. It makes sense the Canucks use that as their logo. But yeah, I think this is a nice one. I love the colors, and I love the fact that these are the colors they had back in 1970 when they came into the league as well. So for all the negative stuff I've seen about the Canucks jerseys, I think this current iteration, especially since they dropped the word mark over top, not too shabby. All right, number 9. Now, what's interesting is when the channel started out, I was not a fan of these jerseys. I didn't have a Winnipeg Jets jersey. In fact, Yvonne bought me my first Winnipeg Jets jersey, which was a white one. Not this one, of course, because this is an Adidas. Adidas jerseys came out after Yvonne and I met, and after she bought me that Winnipeg jersey. But at any rate, this is it's a Scheifele, and I do like them quite a bit. They've really grown on me over the years. I do like the logo. It's just overall, it's a sharp look. I do like the old throwbacks, of course. Again, if we're ranking jerseys, the old throwbacks would be near the top of any countdown. These wouldn't necessarily. But when I'm grading this, where I'm looking at the home and away look of both teams, this still ends up being 9th on the overall countdown. So not too bad for Winnipeg. And we're into the top 8. Here's Toronto. The Toronto Maple Leafs, I love that they returned to a logo that's very similar to the ones they had prior to the kind of boring looking logo they had for so long. Which makes sense. You want to get yourself away from any kind of Harold Ballard association in that whole area. You want to put it behind you. This logo works. And so does the striping. I think it's really nice. Fun jerseys. And honor, pride, courage in the neckline of both. Well, you got to have a tagline, so that's kind of fun. But obviously, as an Original 6 team, I think they've got a jersey that looks like an Original 6 jersey at this point. And so, yeah, we won't see them change from this logo anytime soon. I think we're almost ready, though, for a throwback to those 80s style jerseys, like just for that look. I'd like to see, though, with Fanatics, something different, something forward-leaning, something where everybody has to do like a concept jersey and release that kind of thing. I don't know how Toronto worked with that, but this look is fantastic. When Arizona came to be, I was not a fan of the Kachina initially. Over the years, my position has softened to the point where this jersey's fantastic. This jersey's fantastic. And it might be one of the sadder things about losing the Arizona Coyotes, plus the fact that the Coyotes' name's owned by Morello, so if the Coyotes don't come back, we won't see this as like a throwback or a third or anything like that, and it's too bad. Now, the logo is Is it busy? A little bit. Is it different? It's that too. And I think the fact that it's different, the way the striping's done is different. I think initially people didn't like it because, well, the Winnipeg Jets have moved to Arizona, so I don't think it would have mattered what they used for their logo and for their color scheme. People wouldn't have been happy. But eventually, over the years, people just really warmed up to this. They did, of course, change from this logo to a cleaner look, which I still like. But this one, absolutely sharp. Really like the crescent moon here on the shoulders. It's an overall nice look. It's a shame that it's out. And so, yeah, it's number 7 on my countdown. I may not like word marks very much, but it is the iconic look for the New York Rangers. Iconic colors as well, the striping, everything. It's just fantastic. I really have absolutely zero complaints about the New York Rangers jerseys. I would love to have some kind of further insight, but it's not like they've changed. The only change that ever happened was back in the 80s, for a brief time, it did say New York here instead of Rangers, which made sense to me, since when they were away from home, you could call them New York, and at home you just call them the Rangers. But understanding that there were 2 teams called New York, that might have been kind of confusing as well. So anyways, yeah, New York Rangers, I think it's a really sharp look. And again, the original 6 mystique definitely bumps it up at least a little bit on this countdown. I guess one thing I could say to Sabres fans is, at least you got really nice jerseys. No playoffs for a long time, but these jerseys, this look is awesome. The color is absolutely perfect. It's not exactly the same as what they wore back in the 80s. They don't have the Buffalo logo on the shoulders, which they had on both their home and aways back then, and it felt like maybe it wasn't necessary, and these jerseys show, yeah, that wasn't necessary. I was a big fan of the color change when they did it. I also love the textured Buffalo. The texture on that Buffalo is awesome, and it makes everything look better to me. So it definitely bumps Buffalo up the rankings, and hey, Buffalo's number 5. So there you go, top 5, Buffalo Sabres. Number 4. Now, I debated about which ones to use because I would have rated Boston the same. So Boston is not using these jerseys going forward. It was just for the Centennial, just for this year. As far as I know, there's no thought of them using it for a third. Maybe they do like an 80s throwback for the third, but these were just for the Centennial only. Absolutely fantastic jerseys, though. When I was playing street hockey in them, a lot of people were like, oh, that's a really nice looking jersey, which they hadn't said for my other jerseys, so there you go. But these are really nice, and when they go back to their regular home and aways next year, those are excellent jerseys as well. Boston does pretty well with their looks. The throwback they had this year was absolutely dynamite too. So, yeah, Boston really can't miss on jerseys. Okay, Paddington Bear aside, from the late 90s, the yellow one. Outside of that, even the reverse retro where they did the Paddington Bear still looked good. But anyways, yeah, Boston ends up number 4 on this countdown. I really love these jerseys. I know there's people that don't. I remember when San Jose revealed these, there were Sharks fans who were like, great, now we're going to look like clowns. I think this is so much better than what they were before these. I absolutely love the shoulder patches. I love both the whites and the teal ones. And starting next year, they're going to start winning more games. I think that means they'll sell more jerseys as well. It's generally the case. Usually teams that are doing well will sell a little more than when they don't. But, yeah, this one I think is a home run. Personally, I think the San Jose Sharks have the nicest look they've had since probably the first one. The first jerseys they had, likely their best look after this one. And their third jersey this year, absolutely fantastic. So, San Jose generally makes really nice jerseys. Well, I've never been a huge fan of the team, necessarily, outside of a couple years when they were underdogs in the late 90s, mid-late 90s. I've never had anything bad to say about their overall look over their history. The logo is iconic. Everything about this is fantastic. Well done. And they're third on the list. Number 2, Montreal. So again, my fandom of a team does not affect how I feel about their jerseys. The Montreal Canadiens, wearing jerseys that look very much like this, have vanquished my Bruins many, many times over. As I go through history videos this summer, we will once again watch me relive those memories, in some cases, or just go over what happened before I was around. But yeah, the Montreal Canadiens, it's an excellent look. I really do like their jerseys quite a bit. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Fanatics does, which is probably going to be nothing. This is a Carey Price jersey. And I do have a bunch of Montreal ones. Until I started getting the sweaters, though, which are like old throwbacks to over a century ago, it's really hard to see how things have changed very much over the last, 80 years? and it's because you've got an iconic look. Why fix something that's not broken? And number 1 is Chicago. So the Chicago Blackhawks, the chain stitching on the logo, absolutely just amazing. Again, it's an iconic original 6 look. When I would play floor hockey as a teenager, for some reason I played better when I wore Chicago. I couldn't figure out why that was, but I just did. So I started wearing the Chicago one a little bit more. Again, I was superstitious back then. Good thing I'm over that now. But yeah, just the way everything's stitched, the way that you can tell it's all kind of handmade. It's really nice. And as far as I know, all of the logos on the Adidas are still handmade. I don't know if that's going to remain the case with Fanatics. I don't know how much longer we're going to have these glorious logos like this, but I'm glad I have these. I don't wear them very often because I don't want to be in a situation where I have to wash these a lot. Because the one drawback of the way these are made, it does get really fuzzy quite quickly, and yeah, so really nice logo, really nice jersey though. I think it's the most iconic look in the National Hockey League. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.